When the electrical problem happened on the third floor, Frank went to check the fuse box. Apartment 3B's door was slightly open, and he saw inside. Automatic weapons on the table, modification tools, ammunition boxes. Frank froze. For 8 years, he had been managing this apartment, and an illegal gun operation was being run right under his nose. Welcome to Human Stories. Before we begin this suspenseful story, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe real Justice Warriors stories deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. These stories matter. It was 7 a.m. at Maple Gardens Apartments in Phoenix. Frank Rodriguez had gotten up early as always and started watering the apartment garden. He was 55 years old, medium height, strongly built, a Hispanic man. He had been the apartment manager here for 8 years. Tenants knew him as Frank, reliable, hardworking, someone who solved problems quickly. He controlled everything in this 42-unit complex: maintenance, security, tenant relations. Frank could handle any job. "Good morning, Frank," said Sarah, one of the tenants, as she left the apartment. "Good morning, Sarah," Frank replied politely. "Is the AC problem fixed?" "Yes, thank you. You're a real hero." Frank smiled. If Sarah knew his real background, she would use the word hero very differently. Because Frank Rodriguez wasn't just an apartment manager. For 22 years, he had served as an ATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, federal agent. From 1995 to 2017, Frank Rodriguez was one of ATF's most effective gun trafficking specialists. Drug cartels, illegal arms dealers, organized crime. He had fought against America's most dangerous gun traffickers. During his career, he managed 47 major gun trafficking operations. He arrested 230 illegal firearms dealers, and he seized a total of 15,000 illegal weapons. He collapsed the arms networks of 8 drug cartels. Frank's code name was Tracker, because he was legendary at tracking illegal weapons. But in 2017, everything changed. In his last operation, Frank's team was supposed to raid a major gun trafficking network in Los Angeles. The undercover operation had lasted 6 months. Frank had introduced himself as an illegal arms buyer and gained the cartel's trust. On the night of the operation, everything went wrong. There had been an information leak. The cartel was prepared. A firefight broke out. Frank's partner, Agent Maria Santos, lost her life. Frank couldn't save her. That night, Frank swore to himself, "I will never put anyone in danger again." He retired from ATF and moved to Phoenix. He became an apartment manager. He wanted a quiet, safe life. For 8 years, Frank had been a perfect apartment manager. He never caused problems, solved everyone's issues, was reliable. But tenants noticed he was a bit strange. Frank constantly checked apartment security, cameras, door locks, visitor records. "Frank, aren't you a bit paranoid?" Tenant Tom had asked. "Security is more important than anything," Frank had replied. Frank also had things left over from his ATF days at home: illegal weapons identification guides, federal law books, surveillance equipment. He couldn't completely leave his past behind. Every night, Frank had the same dream. The night of that operation in Los Angeles. Looking into Maria Santos's eyes. "Will you save me, Frank?" Maria would ask. Frank would wake up, sweating. 5 years had passed, but he still couldn't forget. Therapist Dr. Jennifer Walsh had diagnosed him with PTSD. "Frank, you're experiencing survivor guilt. Maria's death isn't your fault. But I was the operation leader. I should have protected her. You stopped hundreds of illegal weapons operations for 22 years. Losing one operation doesn't mean you failed." But Frank had never forgiven himself. 3 months ago, a new tenant had moved into apartment 3B. Mike Stevens, 35 years old, living alone, paying cash. When Frank examined his application form, he noticed strange things. Previous address information, unclear employment history, incomplete, references only phone numbers, background check. Basic level under normal circumstances, Frank wouldn't accept anyone with such incomplete information. But Stevens had paid 6 months' rent in advance and given extra deposit. Money talks, Frank had thought. Big mistake. After Stevens moved in, Frank began noticing strange things. Strange hours. Stevens usually came at night and left early in the morning. Heavy boxes. He constantly saw metal boxes being carried. Visitors. Different people constantly came. Stayed briefly. Noise complaints. Metal banging sounds at night. Security consciousness. Stevens constantly checked security cameras. Frank recognized this pattern with his old ATF training, potential illegal activity. But he was retired. Not my problem, he thought. November 15th, 2023, 2:30 p.m. There was an electrical problem on the third floor. Tenants called Frank. Frank went up to the third floor with his maintenance toolbox. The electrical panel was in the corridor between 3B and 3C. Stevens's apartment was 3B. While checking the panel, he noticed that 3B's door was ajar. Frank didn't want to look inside. Privacy was important. But while working on the electrical panel, he involuntarily looked into the apartment, and what he saw shocked him. Inside apartment 3B, Frank saw 6 to 7 automatic weapons on the table, AR-15 style, gun modification tools, ammunition boxes, gun cleaning kits, digital scale gun parts, barrels, trigger mechanisms, chemical containers, gunpowder, modification manuals, cash bundles. Frank's ATF training immediately activated. This was an illegal firearms operation. Frank quietly repaired the panel and left. His heart was beating very fast. When Frank returned to his office, he analyzed the situation. With his 22 years of ATF experience, he determined unlicensed firearms, dealing automatic weapons possession, firearm modifications, possibly to full auto, large cash transactions, high-level operation, professional setup, multiple participants. Using apartment complex as illegal base, Frank took out his old training manuals. All indicators of residential gun trafficking were present. Frank faced a difficult decision. This is the right thing to do. Stop illegal activity, public safety. He's retired. No longer an agent. Risk of involvement. Remembering Maria Santos. Maintain quiet life. Frank thought all night. The next morning, he had made his decision. Frank began passive surveillance. He started monitoring Stevens with his old ATF training. 15 different people visited 3B, average visit duration, 20 to 30 minutes. They all seemed to be making cash transactions. Pattern, not drug dealing, gun dealing. 6 different vehicles came license plates from different states. They were carrying heavy boxes. Out-of-state gun running operation. Metal processing sounds at night. They were doing gun modification. Professional operation. Multiple people involved. Frank profiled Stevens. 35 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, athletic build, tattoos, military style, possible veteran, always aware of surroundings, professional criminal behavior, paranoid about security, cash-only transactions, no social interaction, operational discipline. Frank's assessment, Stevens is a professional gun trafficker, possible military background, high-level operation. During surveillance, Frank discovered Stevens' network. Rico Martinez, Hispanic male, 40s, possible cartel connection, Tommy Chen. Asian male, 30s, tech specialist, modification expert. Sarah Black, white female, 35, money handler, financial operations. Various buyers, different demographics, out-of-state plates. This was a professional gun trafficking network. After 3 weeks of surveillance, Frank understood the scope of the operation. 10 to 15 customers per day. Estimated $50,000 plus daily revenue, 200 plus illegal firearms per month. Multi-state distribution. Modified AR-15, full auto conversion. Handguns, untraceable. Ammunition bulk sales, military-grade equipment. This wasn't a small apartment operation. This was a major gun trafficking ring. Frank finally decided. He would call ATF, but there was a problem. Frank had been retired for 5 years. Involvement in current operations was against policy. Frank called his former partner, Agent David Kim. David, this is Frank Rodriguez from ATF. Frank, we haven't talked in 5 years. How are you? David, I'm bringing you a big case. Frank explained the situation to David Kim. There's a major gun trafficking operation in my apartment in Phoenix. Professional level, multi-state network. David was surprised. Frank, you're retired. Involvement in these types of cases is risky. David, we're talking about 200 plus illegal weapons per month. RICO Act violation, federal crime. Do you have evidence? Visual confirmation, traffic analysis, behavioral profiling. 22 years of ATF experience. David was convinced. I'll start a formal investigation. A TF Phoenix office planned the operation. Verify Frank's intelligence network. Mapping evidence gathering infiltration as buyer transaction recording. Network member identification. Coordinated raids arrests. Evidence seizure. Frank's role, intelligence asset, civilian informant. Before the operation began, Frank felt conflicted. Maria Santos's death was still haunting him. Could this operation also go wrong? Dr. Walsh. Frank, you were a law enforcement officer. Protecting the public is in your DNA. But Maria's death doesn't mean you should stop doing operations. On the contrary, you should do the right thing for her memory. Frank decided he would continue with the operation. A TF surveillance team monitored 3B for 2 weeks. Frank's intelligence proved correct. Daily illegal gun sales, automatic weapon modifications, multi-state trafficking, cash-based operations, professional criminal network. Agent Kim. Frank, your intelligence is perfect. This is our biggest residential gun trafficking case. ATF undercover agent tried to buy weapons from Stevens. Day 1, contact establishment. Day 2, trust building. Day 3, small purchase, handgun. Day 4, larger purchase request, automatic weapons. Day 5, network introduction. Everything recorded, legal evidence gathering. On day 4, Stevens began to suspect this buyer is too curious, asking too many questions. Rico Martinez, possible Fed. Stevens, let's watch the apartment manager. He's too observant. Frank was at risk. Stevens began investigating Frank. He researched Frank's background, discovered ATF connection, found retired federal agent information. Rico, this apartment manager is a former ATF agent. Stevens, he must be doing surveillance on us. Frank's cover was about to be blown. A TF decided to accelerate the operation. Agent Kim, Frank, they suspect you. We need immediate takedown. Is the evidence sufficient? 72 hours of surveillance plus undercover purchases are enough. We got federal arrest warrant. Preparation for Operation Phoenix Thunder began. December 20th, 2023, 5 a.m. ATF, FBI, and local police conducted coordinated raid. 3B apartment, main operation. Stevens' warehouse, off-site storage. Network members' homes. Frank was evacuated from the apartment for safety. At 5 a.m., simultaneous raids began. 47 illegal firearms. Seized $230,000. Cash confiscated. Modification equipment captured. Computer hard drives. Seized Mike Stevens, main operator. Rico Martinez, cartel connection. Tommy Chen, modification specialist. Sarah Black, money handler. 8 other associates. Total 12 arrests. Seized evidence. 47 illegal firearms. 15 fully automatic weapons. 200 plus high-capacity magazines. 50,000 rounds ammunition. Gun modification tools. 3D printing equipment. Ghost guns. Chemical supplies. Professional packaging materials. $230,000 cash. Banking records. Transaction logs. Customer databases. After Stevens was arrested, he confessed, "We had been running this operation for 2 years. Monthly, $1.5 million revenue. Where did the customers come from? Dark web, cartel connections, street dealers, nationwide network. When did you suspect Frank Rodriguez? 3 weeks ago, but it was too late then. The operation's success vindicated Frank. Agent Kim. Frank, thanks to your intelligence, we brought down the biggest residential gun trafficking ring. Maria would be proud of you." For the first time in 5 years, Frank didn't feel guilty when remembering Maria. The Phoenix gun trafficking case became national news. Retired ATF agent exposes major gun ring. Apartment manager's sharp eye saves lives. Phoenix operation seizes 47 illegal weapons. Frank wanted to remain anonymous, but became a local hero. When apartment tenants learned Frank's real identity, they were shocked. Sarah, Frank, were you really a federal agent? I worked at ATF for 22 years. Tom, how did you know there was illegal gun sales in this apartment? Training never leaves you. Pattern recognition. Tenants began showing more respect to Frank. After the operation, Frank talked with Dr. Walsh. I feel like I avenged Maria. This isn't revenge, Frank. This is justice. Stevens' network was distributing thousands of illegal weapons. How many lives did you save by stopping them? For the first time, Frank could see meaning in Maria's death. Frank returned to apartment management, but now he was different. Increased security measures, stricter background checks, professional level tenant screening, maintained law enforcement connections. Frank's apartment became Phoenix's safest complex. After apartment 3B was vacated, Frank was very careful in new tenant selection. New tenant, Jennifer Martinez, nurse, single mother. Background, clean criminal record, stable employment, local references. Screening professional level background check. Frank wouldn't let illegal activity happen twice. A TF offered Frank a part-time consultant role. We need your expertise in residential gun trafficking cases. Frank accepted. Retirement was getting boring. New role: detection of illegal weapon activity in civilian properties. The success of the Stevens operations significantly improved Frank's PTSD, Dr. Walsh. You were able to put Maria's death in meaningful context. Her sacrifice enabled us to arrest 12 dangerous criminals. And you realized the value of your 22-year career. Frank could finally make peace with Maria's death. That night, Frank saw Maria in his dream. But this time, it was different. "I'm proud of you, Frank," said Maria, "but I couldn't protect you." "You couldn't protect me, but you protected justice. Stevens' network was threatening thousands of people. My death didn't end your mission. It strengthened it." Frank was crying, but for the first time, happy tears. Phoenix community recognized Frank. Mayor's Office, Outstanding Citizen Award, ATF, Civilian Cooperation Medal. Local police, community safety. Recognition. Frank attended ceremonies. He had returned to public service. Frank transformed apartment management into law enforcement mission, professional tenant screening, illegal activity detection, law enforcement cooperation, community safety programs. Maple Gardens Apartments became a model security complex. ATF continued to involve Frank in future cases. Case 2, meth lab detection, successful. Case 3, human trafficking identification, successful. Case 4, money laundering operation, ongoing. Frank balanced civilian life with law enforcement. Mike Stevens received 25 years in federal court. Federal firearms, trafficking illegal weapon modifications, RICO Act, violations, money laundering. Other network members received sentences between 5 to 15 years. Frank Rodriguez is 60 years old today. He's still the manager of Maple Gardens Apartments, but no longer just an apartment manager. Solving that illegal gun trafficking case filled Frank's retirement with new purpose. Maria Santos' death is no longer a meaningless tragedy, but the motivation for Frank's future justice work. Frank's story teaches us this: retirement isn't the end of expertise. It can be the beginning of a new mission. 22 years of ATF training could make Frank an apartment manager, but making him an apartment manager who detects illegal gun trafficking is more valuable. Sometimes the pain of our past transforms into the purpose of our future. Frank couldn't save Maria, but through her memory, he protected thousands of people from potential gun violence. If this story affected you, share your thoughts in the comments. Do you have expertise from your past? How can you serve your community after retirement? Subscribe to Human Stories to ensure stories like this continue to be told, because every expert has a unique way to contribute to their community. Until the next story, show a little more respect to apartment managers, building security, property managers. Maybe they too have hidden expertise.